Hello, friends of the podcast. How are you doing? How's it going for you? I hope all is well and shiny and bright and deeply surrendered and aligned and in flow. Just a small request and desire I have for your soul. Hey, listen, if you're interested in getting some really deep activation, spiritual healing, and alignment for yourself, getting clarity on your own spiritual path, and or clearing or healing anything you need cleared or healed from your body, being, soul, or spirit, join me for 3 days of star being and Christ-light healing, October 1, 2, and 3 in upstate Massachusetts, or you can join online. It's a 3-day retreat where we're gonna zap a ton of crap right on out of your system and align you with the light in a really powerful way. October 1, 2, and 3. For details, give me a little email and I will email you back with everything you need. KLRubin, RUBIN, @gmail.com. That's K as in kiss, L as in love, RUBIN, @gmail.com. Additionally, consider joining us for 2 weeks in Egypt, November 15th to the 26th. 2 weeks in Egypt, friends. We're gonna go to the temples, we're gonna go to the pyramids, we're gonna go to the Sphinx, and we're gonna be raising the vibrational field of the planet to lift the weight of the recent trauma that we've all been going through for the past year or two, from the planet itself, from the collective, and from our own hearts. So this will be a ton of healing, and also like rad travels on the Nile, and an integration time for 2 days at a beach at the end in Egypt. Have you always wanted to go to Egypt? Well, you should go. Now's the time. Email me, klrubin @gmail.com. That's K as in kiss, L as in love, RUBIN @gmail.com. And for now, enjoy the cast of Pod.
Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions he asking. You find them inside you, reciting the records. Akashic, we laughing, we drafting the passion through various. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, passing it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
Do you want to know my biggest revelation of the week, Cassidy? It's really profound.
I do.
Really deep and profound. Are you ready for it?
I'm going to guess that it has little to do with spiritual heart and more to do with like pubic hair.
God damn it, I already pounded the table. We had a talk about me pounding the table, and I've pounded it like 16 times with my penis, with my spiritual penis.
Okay, so...
A. B, here's my big revelation. Comedy is everything. It's everything. It's everything, everything, everything. There's nothing else. Like some spiritual people say, all there is God. You know, God is everything, and the fabric of the universe is woven through every single millimeter.
It's woe-begotten.
It's Lake Wobegon.
Yep.
Blues, dreams. What was that? Lake
Wobegon days.
Days. Here's what it is. So much people are going through it. So when you're a healer, lady, you are busy helping people get through it. And I have to say, I worked with a COVID patient this week, which I want to talk about because it was amazing and we really should talk about it. And a lot of other fucking people. And when I come, I mean, it's a little too much for me. Like I'm so healing a lot. And for people. And I'm a little like, I hear the littlest, dumbest dick joke in the world, and I am filled with glee. I am so happy.
It's your recharge.
Oh my God. I've been rewatching every episode of because I love it.
Yeah.
And like, they can say the most inane, it's all I need is drag queens making dick jokes. That's all I fucking need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't there even like a whole spiritual, like,
yes.
I feel like in India, maybe it's like the laughter meditation where they just laugh.
Well, it's called laughter yoga. And I have a friend who facilitates it. And I sort of hate her and I sort of hate it. Like
It's a friend, but I hate her.
Well, she's a friend of me. Let's be real. She's one of those people where you're like, we're tight. We talk, we touch in. And also we stop talking after 2 phone calls because we both kind of hate each other. But we have like a sister connection where it's like, I'll never not know her. But I would, if someone said you could push her off a cliff and there'd be no karmic retribution and like the universe would be a brighter place in some way. Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, someone could just say that. How would you trust that knowledge?
Well, let's say I was channeling God in that moment and it said, listen, you don't have to, this isn't about
So you're saying you might murder her.
I just might. She teaches laughter fucking yoga,
and she knows who she is now for sure. And it's entirely possible that she might occasionally pop onto this show. So you're cool with her knowing that.
What am I got no codependency left in me.
All right.
I don't.
I love you. I hate you. And I might murder you.
She feels the same way. It's just fine.
Okay.
And the point being, laughter yoga can be both goofy and fucking great. It can be great. They stand in a circle and they go like, just pretend you're laughing. And then when you're already it's working.
Right. Once you get 3 people and you just start laughing.
Well, if you pretend to laugh, it's so dumb you can't help but laugh. And then you're laughing.
There's the old sleepover game where you like head on tummy, head on tummy, head on tummy. Like the human centipede, but with heads on tummies. Sorry for that image, everybody. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Yeah, I do. Instead of mouth on anus.
Yeah. Sorry, made you describe it.
Mouth sewn to anus.
Yeah, that's the human centipede. We can move on from that one.
I don't think we should.
Okay, we'll stay on it.
Anyway,
back to laughter.
Settle in, America.
It's going to be a bumpy ride. Head on belly, head on belly, head on belly, head on belly. And then like the first person says, ha. And your head, whoever's head is on there goes, bagunk. And the second person says, ha, ha. And then third person says, ha, ha, ha. And I think maybe you're each doing it together. So it's one person, ha, 2 people, ha, ha, 3 people, ha, ha, ha. And you see how high you can get before everyone just starts laughing. But everyone's head's bouncing up and down. Yeah. It's like a thing you do at summer camp or fucking sleepovers or.
Now, I hear you. I want to say a thing. Here's another reason I'm in love with comedy again and now.
Okay.
Is because another thing that's happening in addition to the world is falling apart and everybody's dying and they're all calling me, is that, which I'm actually grateful and I'm happy to help you if you're listening right now.
It's really good for the bankroll too.
Book a fucking session. Yes, your heart matters. What I'm saying is, in addition to that's happening, I'm also like, if you see all the boxes.
You're packing. I'm
moving and packing and it's a living nightmare. So like I need all the laughter I can get. And number 75, for some reason this week, maybe it's not happening, but in my perception of how I look in the mirror, I have aged 15 years in 1 week's time. All I see is these lines here that go forever. And then the jowls, it's all I see. And then I need to get my roots touched up. So like my profile, like this sad, angry line here.
Just for the listeners, everything that Katie is indicating, we can't see. It is not actually there. You are experiencing, and I acknowledge that is what you see. Of course, I've been there myself, but you're experiencing some form of like, what's it called? Body dysmorphia. You're like, oh, I see it. I'm like, no, it's really not there.
Watch this. Watch.
Okay.
See this profile shot? Now watch. See this right here?
Uh-huh.
That is...
Oh, God.
When I was a child, let me just please...
Did someone take the portrait out of the closet and like show it to the world and now you're starting to age up? It's a Dorian Gray reference.
No. When I was a child, my mother, I may have mentioned a time or two, not the happiest, peppiest one.
Right. Not the best memories. Not
the most nurturing, loving one. Now, she had this real cranky pants thing like this. Like, watch how the line starts here at the top of my nose and it goes all the way to the fucking set. Look at that. Like an angry mask I'm wearing.
Yeah.
She had that. And I remember as a kid being like, you have that line because you're so fucking mean. You sad sack mean bitch. Maybe if you weren't such a bitch, your face wouldn't look so sad. And now karma is real.
Right.
Because here it is on my own fucking face.
And are you mean too?
I don't think so.
Like, are those your 8 lines? Those are your 8.
My Enneagram 8 lines?
Yeah.
Here's what I actually think. And this is, I'm real mad at God and we have to have a talk. And also, I want to talk to people about talking to God when you're mad at God, because it's really an important thing to do.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it right now. Here's the deal. When I went to the first healing school I went to, the Sufi school, okay, they talked about, like, you would see everyone who ran that school, the couples, there were a lot of couples. They were older, gray-haired, significantly obese, old, haggard-looking women dating your face. Your face. When I was describing that, you were making such a good face. Okay. Dating or married to young, handsome gentlemen, left and right. And I could not figure out what the hell was happening. And then they told me, because I pretty much asked them in not so many words, but they said it came up in class. They brought it up, the teachers. They were like, you notice how there's a lot of women here that are like slightly older than their gentleman counterparts? And I was like, I'm confused. They were like, they're not actually older than them. But the way it works on women with our hormones and the nervous system of a woman and all that is that when you bring as much light through as the people like at the school were bringing through, it ages your ass.
Interesting.
And you get, everybody got gray in their 30s. You look older. And sometimes you get softer because tautness and tight, young, skinny, what we value in our culture is not what the spirit is made of. Spirit is made of soft, fluid light. So your body starts to become a replica or an expression of that light. But unfortunately, in our culture, that looks like old, fat lady parts. That, like, we judge age and we judge circle shapes and we judge jiggly and we judge. Now, of course, some people don't, and I'm fully generalizing. And but what I'm trying to get to is, I've had a couple weeks in a row of bringing a lot of light through for the collective and for people. And I'm getting older every fucking day. And
that's going to challenge your ego, isn't it?
It's presently in this very moment challenging my ego. My ego is unexcited.
Now, the three in me just wants to reassure you that you're beautiful and that I perceive you as gorgeous. And I was going to say, I mean, it's about time you and I both, like, oh, you're how old? Bullshit. No, you're not, because you look way younger than your age. But that's also basing it on this sort of framework of like, oh, if you're X old, you look this way, and then we judge you based on that. So you're right. Like, there's a lot of sort of framework that we're bringing to it that is stupid.
The framework it's there. We're all contending with it to different and lesser and greater degrees. And in a lot of moments and every day, I'm very fine with myself.
I looked at myself in the mirror yesterday, naked. I just stood there and I did the whole, hey, this is me. I'm looking at myself. And I looked hilarious. I'll be honest. There's some comedy there where I was like, look at that weird shape that you're presenting. And I did have that moment of, whew, thank God Denise thinks I am hot as fuck, because I need to at least not fear that problem. I can look at myself and I can have my judgments, but ultimately my judgments are based on how I can be valued either by a partner or by a casting agent or by, and so like, at least that box is like, don't worry about that box. Forget that box. You can look at yourself and go, what the fuck is that? But
I know,
frankly, that, as long as you're comfortable physically in your body, what am I trying to say? Hopefully that doesn't matter if it's still doing all the things you need it to do, either in society or just in your work or whatever.
To me, there's a way that I go, part of me goes, I kind of got pretty damn good at surrender with all the goddamn addiction stuff I've worked with, and just life and my life being a spiritual path. Everything has been about surrender over the fuck and over again.
Yeah.
And so there's a way that part of me goes like, there's quite literally nothing I can do except, take the best care of myself as possible, eat fewer carbs and sugar, do some exercise, like just do the basic shit to be like a loving parent of this physical temple. But beyond that, and I can bring a lot of light through, but we are not really in charge of this ride.
No, we're in charge. And that's another point about how we bring judgment to bodies and shapes and stuff. Even people who love people, like, I know people be like, well, if he just took care of himself,
I know.
You'd be like, fuck you. You don't know anything about what that person's body is doing. And is that person's body doing what it needs to do for that person? Yes.
Okay, get this. Get this. I was in 12-step rooms for 15 years where with very, very obese people who are like, doctors would look at them and go, you need to go to the hospital right now, or you need to eat only lettuce right now because you're going to die. And these are people I was close with 3 days a week, hearing their deepest truths, watching them eat just like me. We were all eating the same fucking plan in this one program I was in for a while.
Oh, I was going to say, you mean donuts and coffee? Because that's my image of a 12-step program.
Yeah, no, the food programs. Like when I was early on in recovery.
Oh, right. You were doing that.
Yeah, I went to a program called CHOW, CEA HOW, which stood for Compulsive Eaters Anonymous HOW. And the HOW was in that program was about like, if we all eat this one way on this one fucking diet, we're all going to lose this weight. And I was in rooms with people eating this literally ounce for ounce, the same shit I was eating and not dropping weight. There was nothing they could fucking do. And it was really hard to watch, but it really deepened my empathy because some people's whole life journey this time around, there's a song I love so much that has that phrase. It's called This Time Around. And I want to sing it every time I say that phrase. I'll take the moment. We'll come back to that.
Musical theater.
That this time around, that's their whole jam, is they're going to show up on this earth and you believe it or not, I believe they agree to this when they come in, and they're going to have a bigger body to challenge the fucking world to look at its fucking judgments about what the fuck bodies should fucking look like.
Yeah.
And I have a dear friend right now who I'm thinking of. She was a client and she's just also just a friend who she's done everything. She did grapefruit diet. She did protein only. She did balanced for 10 years in a row, vegetables, all the it never changes. And then she's looked at, is it my hormones? Is it my childhood? Should I get my stomach stapled? Like, and she, and then you go like, do I do fat serenity or is fat serenity a lie? The idea of fat serenity is like, look, this is what my body looks like. Deal with me, America. And if you can't, I'm serene, so fuck off. And then some people say, yeah, but that's its own form of denial and its own form of like, I'm not going to deal with my health issues. I'm going to be, fuck you, America. And I have no answers. All I know is this. Each person is different. And each person we go into their records and deal with them directly, we get different information about different shit, which brings me back to, and I know we only have 2 minutes. I worked with a COVID patient this week, and I really feel like I should talk about it before our guest comes on. I want you guys to hear this as much as I get sassy and irreverent about healing work. This woman started the session saying, she's a dear client friend who I just adore. She said, I feel like somebody put a 25-pound weight on my chest and I'm trying to breathe through that. I'm lifting 25 pounds with my chest every time I inhale. Mm-hmm. And she said, and she was in tears because she said, it's been 7 days of that and I'm exhausted and I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm not going to survive this. So we brought light through to her chest. And guess what? She was crying by the end with gratitude, going like, oh my God, I can fucking breathe. There's no weight there now. The other thing she said was she could feel her nerves come back online. Like her nerves were dead. And she said her joints were all swollen. By the end of the session, joints working and loose, nerves back online, no 25 pounds on her chest.
Nice.
I was amazed. And the last thing I want to say about it is I am not really that into, I try to be very measured about, and you know this about me, Cass, but like, even though I'm as woo-woo as they come, I try to stay away from conspiracy theories. I don't like to like buy a conspiracy theory just because someone said it. I want to think about it and ponder it and ask in the records and see what my critical thinking says and all of that. So I haven't married myself to, is the thing man-made or not? You know how everybody's like, it was man-made, and then everybody stopped talking about that idea?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll tell you what I found. I finally worked with someone with it. I was in her spirit with her in the records like we do. That is the most synthetic, metallic thing I've ever felt in someone's body. I'm 100% sure that's man-made.
Right.
The record keepers told me it was. Until yesterday, I didn't believe that.
Yeah.
But having felt it in her body and having dissipated it with light, which is organic and is not man-made, obviously, I was both reassured because the light can heal anything, as we know, and really kind of floored by, holy fuck, if it was man-made, you have to really sit with what the fuck that means.
Right. Was it man-made and then it escaped and now it's just out and it's its own beast now. It's not man-controlled, probably, but it could have been originally generated.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to state that, like, thank you, Des. We can bring her in. That's fine. I'm just trying to state that, like, I didn't have that as a preconceived notion. In fact, I would have said I was leaning the other direction.
Uh-huh.
And the session proved me wrong. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking man-made. It's like she had little shards of metal and fiberglass all in every
little spiky things sticking out all the side of the ball.
Which makes it make sense why there are breakthrough cases with a vaccine, because a vaccine can only treat a man-made chemical metallic thing so far.
Right. Well, and there's just, I mean, I could go in. I've been learning a little more, but it's about literally viral load, but it goes along with what you're saying. So it's probably great.
And I want to talk about it. So Nichole is here.
Hello.
We did it. We did it. We did it.
Great. Can you guys hear me all right?
Oh my God. So well.
You're very loud. Your audio is
I'm trying. Okay. Let me turn it up. All right. Let me turn it down. How's that? Better?
I think so.
About the same. It's good though.
Okay. All right.
It's not too hot. It's great.
All right. Good. Awesome. Well, how are you guys?
It's so loud.
Well, I've been binging your episodes, so I'm excited to get started.
Yay. Okay. Now I want to clarify. It's just Nichole, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Because the way you spell it is unique and enjoyable.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was born that way.
And in my mind, as I've been chit-chatting with you on the email and setting this up, I've turned you in my mind to Nichole.
Hey, you know what? You're my people. That's what my family sometimes says. So there you go.
Nice.
Did you get that in school though? Like, what were the mistakes they made in like when they were calling roll?
Well, the teachers didn't make mistakes, but the kids were pretty mean. You know, they're like Nietzsche, Nichole, like Nikki. I'd hate it if you asked me if my name was Nikki or call me Nikki. I just wanted to beat you. And I think that's just because my mom always said, don't ever let anyone call you Nikki. Nothing, against Nikki's. It's just, she's like, that's not your name. So anyway, yeah.
You're not a Nikki.
I'm not a Nikki. No, not by any means.
Nichole.
Yes.
Questions.
Answers.
Number one, Number one, will you please help the audience understand, the vast listenership, help them understand, tell us what the premise of your podcast is and what is its aim?
Sure. So I felt like, and this was about 2 years ago I know podcasts were popular then, but they weren't like they are now. I mean, they've really exploded in the last year. But when I was listening, I didn't find a podcast that was interviewing people or talking to people about their stories. I feel like the backstory is so important. Like how you got to where you are, how you, Cassidy, got to where you are, and just our spiritual journeys are so different. And so I felt like sharing those helps people understand a little bit better the experiences that they're going through.
100 zillion%. And so you're not just talking to people on spiritual paths, you're talking to psychics.
Yeah. So anybody. Psychics, mediums. The reason why it's called a psychic story is because I feel like sometimes that definition you get pigeonholed into being a type of person or practice. I mean, there's all kinds. You can be a healer, an intuitive, a tarot reader, all of that, right? And then also even sometimes things that you don't think is so wookie or woo-woo, as you guys like to call it too, that is another kind of level. So also just kind of dispelling those myths and misconceptions, I should say, about what people think about certain practices, even Wicca or witches, right?
Yep.
Can be a spiritual experience, or it can be a religion, or it can just be a way of life for folks. And so that was part of the aim. And it came to me from my guides and angels one night when I was trying to sleep one evening, and they wouldn't let this idea go. And I was like, I'm really tired. Can you just leave me alone until the next morning? And so, so that's kind of how it got started. And that was the premise. And that's part of my journey.
And so I'm assuming, and I just want you to really, I'm just asking so you'll tell the listeners your story. I'm assuming that you've been working as a psychic, or you are a psychic, or you yourself have a journey, and that's part of the deal. Is that correct? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So my full-time job is in PR and marketing, and I went into communications, not to have everybody's eyes glaze over when they're listening to this, but I went into communications because when I went to school over 20 years ago, I was like, there was no school like Harry Potter, no school where you could really go and learn all the stuff that I wanted to learn from a spirituality standpoint. So I was like, I can speak to dead people. I can speak to pets. And so maybe I'll just do communications with humans the regular way. And so I do that, right? So I do that full time. And I realized I was just getting really sad and depressed and anxious, especially a few years ago, even before the pandemic was happening. I knew something was coming and I didn't know what. I just knew it was going to be big. And so I just went inward and was asking again, the universe, okay, what do I need to do? And they provided this very clear path. And it was that one of the things they told me was, you are not living your authentic truth by telling people what you do also in the closet, in the psychic closet, so to speak. So I didn't have a practice per se where I set up a business and I was doing readings. I would talk to friends, family. They knew it. Like, it wasn't like I was hiding it that way, but from a professional standpoint, really being out there publicly, that was a huge leap for me.
Yeah. And so when did that happen?
That happened 2 years ago. After I woke up the next morning, when the guides and angels kind of gave me this plan. They even gave me the name. They're like, this is what you call it. This is what you need to do. You should start a podcast. This is the website. And I was like, man, that's a lot of work, right? Like for just me to start it, what's the purpose? And they're like, don't worry about that. Just do it. So it was a big leap of faith, but that was a little over 2 years ago. And when I woke up that morning, though, the next morning, I was like, well, I promised them. So I'm going to go and look into this. There was no podcast. There was no branding. There was no book even on this. There was there was a base, right? And so I was like, all right, well, you guys really do know your stuff. And that's why I decided to just kind of dig in a little deeper. And at first it was more, all right, I'm going to put my toe out there. I'm going to reach out to folks, see if they're interested in talking to me and sharing their stories. And I was really surprised and shocked. Being in PR, I create my hit list, right? Your gets. And you're like, I want this person, Sonia Fitzpatrick, Kim Russo, Tyler Henry, like the big names. And 95% of them wanted to be on and share their stories. Yeah.
Okay. So what's your story? How did it all start for you?
Well, do you want my birth story or do you want, I guess that's probably the best way to explain it. I was about 5 or 6 and I was in bed. My dad was tucking me in and he and I were just having a conversation. Typical kid dad conversations. And he said, when we come into this world, we pick our life path. And I say that laughingly, because not a lot of kids or parents really talk about that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know. And it was just more of this matter of fact kind of thing. And he's like, what do you mean, And so I told him this whole story. And I said, I was looking down what I called heaven at the time, but what I think it was nowhere really. It was just this big blackness. And I was looking down on earth and I saw my mom and I just saw more emotions and energy and things going on. And I said, I want to be in this lifetime and this path. And when I was like kind of zooming in, I felt like I wanted to go forward. And I felt this knowing or this voice really say, it's not your time. And I got a little bit sad. And by the time I turned around and was like, okay, well, that's a bummer. The next thing I knew, it was a split nanosecond and was like, this voice says, okay, it's time now. And I was like shooting down. And yeah, it was crazy. And you don't say that stuff growing up. You don't say that again when you're even in your teens or in college and people lock you up, that sort of thing. So I kind of kept it to myself, but my whole family growing up, they would ask me questions like, oh, what about this? Or what about this situation? And I knew things that I either would not have known happened before I was born, or things that I was so young that they were like, how would you even remember that? So that was kind of my first memory or first knowing that we are not our physical bodies and that we have a choice in our destiny and in our path. And that was from an early age, what my truth was grounded in. And what I was kind of talking about earlier about not living in your authentic self or sharing that truth. That was like, that's my story. So maybe I should be on that path and get others talking and see if they have experiences. And not everybody has such a vivid memory, but people have different things at any point in their life that sometimes is a little bit unknown or scary. And so that was kind of the purpose.
Okay. So if I'm going to try to hear more of the actual story. So there you were, young, you tell your dad the story of you saw yourself entering the body before you came into this particular life. Then you grew up and you could see things and know things that you couldn't possibly know with your family. So then what happened? You went to high school, you went to college. Did you share it with friends? What happened next?
So when I was little, and again, I love my parents and my family, both sides actually were very intuitive and kind of into the spiritual. At that time, it was like in the late 70s, early 80s, as I was growing up. So it was, you got books on it and you talked about it, but it wasn't mainstream, right? It was just starting to kind of come out. And so they would say things like, that's a great story, honey, or that's great that you picked that up, but maybe we just keep it with our, among our family, among ourselves.
And what's an example of that? Like, what kind of story would you get that they would be like,
I didn't see auras, but I would see light. I think I listened to one of your episodes and you were talking about when you were answering a listener's question about like your strengths are also your weaknesses. So sometimes like to go and kind of see like as somebody you were sitting in a classroom and you were reading people and their emotions and their energy and you just knew it and you weren't paying attention in class. So things like that, like I guess just there's a filter in a way, and it's also a level of privacy. Like people don't want you thinking that you're reading them all the time or you're picking up on things. But when you're young and you're just exploring it, you don't necessarily know that there's supposed to be a filter.
And
right?
so what were some of the things you were seeing through the filter about?
Like just that somebody was sad, somebody was about to get a divorce. I mean, when you're a kid and you're like, hey, your marriage is falling apart and you're not going to be married very long. I mean, I just didn't have a filter. And so I thought that it was a matter of fact and that those were things that people just understood or knew. And that is one example. Other things I just knew that if somebody was jealous or envious of someone else or of me, or if they were angry, those sorts of things where it was almost a way of communication that I thought again was natural that you don't express or verbalize because people are like, how did you know that? Those sorts of things, just little things on that end.
What's the difference for you between most people can kind of intuit when someone is angry.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of tell when people are angry. So what's the difference between that and the thing you're describing? Like, how would you characterize the difference?
The difference was I would know it before it even happened, kind of thing. In some cases, I would see it visually in my mind before I even saw the person in a day or two. A lot of times then when I was actually physically in their presence, I felt it, like not just the it was more of an empathy, more of that. And that took me a while too, to discern that that wasn't my feeling and my emotion, that was somebody else's. Those are small examples, but there were others, like just knowing that a family member that had passed on to the other side was there trying to communicate. So those are like the bigger, but I feel like from a listener perspective, sometimes it's interesting to share that too, because we do go through a lot of those experiences and emotions and we don't realize that that's not our stuff.
What stuff don't we realize?
Sometimes emotions that we're feeling are not necessarily our emotions. It can be somebody else's emotions, especially if you're an empath. I feel like a lot of us on this earth are empaths and we don't know. And I know you probably are, Cassidy, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this
thinking
a
about
lot.
something that literally just happened today where I was texting with Denise is my code name for my girlfriend, just because I'm not outing her on the podcast for whatever reason. We haven't decided.
Hi, Denise.
I was texting with her about a frustrating thing that was happening. And I was like, oh, I'm this didn't happen. And then she said, are you angry? And then she said, or frustrated or something else. I can't remember. And literally she described the emotions in the order they had occurred in me in the moment that I was sending those texts. And then she was like, yeah, because I got all that just now and I knew it wasn't mine. Like she was in the store and she is very sensitive in that way. So she got like everything I was feeling and not saying, like exactly as it occurred in a field, whatever, in the great field of the beyond.
It's also because you're so connected.
And we're connected, but it was really interesting just to have that so specifically occur, like without like even the words were like, yep, those are the exact order of operations that occurred for me just now. Thanks.
And so, yes. So we talk about the idea of like, I'm constantly teaching in my healing business, teaching people to ask the question, wait a minute, is this mine? Because people don't even consider that they need to ask that. And that's a really helpful question. But first you have to deprogram people to like, people think like, if I'm feeling it, it's mine, period.
Right.
And there's a lot of deprogramming there to like help, except for people who just get it, like Denise and us and whoever else,
So I forget it sometimes too. I have to remember to ask that question sometimes. Like, oh shit, right. Is this mine? Wait, hold on.
Right.
Yeah.
I think though too, sorry to cut you off. I was just going to say one thing because Spirit was leading me to say this is that for whomever's listening, I feel like a lot of the children right now and the kids that are going through this are experiencing a lot of emotions because of all of it, right? Everything that's happening on in the world. So as a parent or somebody in the family that is looking over children, it's that maybe just helping them understand too, not just expressing what they're feeling, but, helping them recognize that in some cases, what you're feeling isn't necessarily your feeling. And it's different from just being present with folks, right? Because you do have those experiences, like you were saying, Cassidy, even when your girlfriend called you, it's like, you don't have to be present for that. So anyway, just wanted to share that before we moved on to the next question.
That's a really important point. I just want to thank you for that, because the kids thing is huge. To be able to tell, because we want to tell kids to feel their feelings, like we want to tell adults to feel their feeling, but we have to add now that complexity of or know whether it's yours or not.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I mean, there's so many, the young ones now, there's so many showing up, like the quote, on the spectrum, autistic, whatever the spectrum kids who are just really awake and tapped in at a high level, and they are feeling everybody's everything. And until somebody trains them to know that they're not crazy, they're just feeling so much.
Then they're overwhelmed.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So there you were, living your life, sometimes knowing a dead family member was in the room. What's one of the I don't want to say crazy, but what's one of the more standout experiences you had of being like, of seeing something, knowing something, hearing something that everyone around you was blown away by, that sort of helped you realize, wow, I'm really different, or I have this thing?
Yeah, I would say, this may be a boring answer, but because I guess I kind of came out of that psychic closet, so to speak, so early on with my friends and family, that there was really nothing weird I could say or do with them. I think that for me, as I was early on in my teens, just starting to dabble a little bit more into prayer, into intention, and into meditation, one night I remember laying there and I just said, I accept all the gifts and the abilities that the universe has to give me. I embrace them. And boy, I was not ready to kind of be on that wild ride literally that night. Because that night I had this dream, and it was very different from my typical dreams. And the dream was that I was driving in this car as a passenger. I was with these other teenagers. They were not my friends, but they were around my same age. And at some point we were about ready to merge onto a highway. And as we were merging, this car is coming from the other direction. And there was this really bad collision. And as I was kind of ready to hit, and again, in this dream, the car was about to hit. I was like, man, my first thought was, this is going to hurt. And then I was out of body. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, that is really strange. That's really bizarre. I've never had a dream like that. It just came out of nowhere. Also, again, it felt different, visually, emotionally. And on the radio, again, kids, this was not where it was like Google, Instagram, all of this. It was like on the radio, I'm getting ready for school. And there was these kids that were 2 towns over, had been drinking, driving, got in an accident. And so it started a spiritual kind of journey for me to say, okay, was that mine? It wasn't a premonition. It was almost real time. Was I there? That sort of thing. So I went upstairs and I told my mom, and again, that's an example. And I said, I had this experience, and she's like, maybe you shouldn't necessarily tell everybody this, because, one, came out of left field, and 2, like, people are going to think you're kind of weird or crazy. So there's that. And then I would say it's also more just things like when I'm talking to friends or family and
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry, but to interrupt you. But so I think what I'm hearing you say is that dream for you, because I didn't get the conclusion you came to, but maybe you never came to a conclusion.
I didn't. Yeah. Maybe you can tell me what my conclusion is, other than it was an example of another gift that if I wanted to tap into it, I could.
I see. So you didn't really come to discover, oh, I was watching this happen in Senegal, but in my bed here in Miami, or this was the past. You didn't figure that out.
No, I mean, I know it was literally that night. But my question to my guides and angels up until more recently was, why give somebody that information if then that information isn't useful in some way to that person, or you can't stop it, you can't whatever. Yeah. And what I've come to the conclusion about with that is that sometimes you don't have to have the answer, and it's not necessarily you intervening. It was spirit showing me that there is an ability, and we are all tied and we are all connected by energy. And they were like, you wanted to know what the depths of your connection could be to other human beings. This is an example. And if you want to, and you want to choose to go down that path to explore it, you can. I, of course, never really did in that sense, but that was an example. And I think the importance of me bringing it up as you asked this is because I feel like it's so immediate. Like, we all talk about the universe and manifestation and ask and you shall receive. And that night I said it with a heartfelt intention. And then that night I had this really crazy, what I call, again, quotes, dream, but it was real. It wasn't a premonition. It was in that moment. And that is a confirmation and a validation in a way that I've never had before.
100,000,000%. And that's part of why I asked the question. Because for me, as soon as I hear that story, I go, oh, I see. They were showing her through time and space. Here's something you can see. And then we're going to have you listen to the radio and see that there was an accident. Like it's just one way to show us.
Yeah. And also maybe you can tell me this if you get an answer. I thought it was strange because I was literally another person. I wasn't viewing it from the perspective of peripheral or from the sidelines. I was this other person. So for a while I was like, whoa, or was this my doppelganger? Like, was this, but again, I think it was what we were talking about, but it also to me showed that we are all so connected on a level that maybe we don't realize that we are. I did not know this person. I did not in my mind have a connection. Maybe if I'd explored it, we did. Right. And it would have been a way of me talking to her family. But again, never went down that path. Hold on one second. Dog lap.
Oh, you and Katie are sisters.
I know. I heard that too. That's why I was like, I have to do it to keep them quiet. So you guys are about ready to dial me in. And I said, I need to keep him. He's so cute.
So I want to tell you a story now.
Yeah.
When I was going to the first healing school I went to, you might have heard this on the podcast, but it's a good story for folks to hear. I went to the school because I was looking to heal. And nothing traditional worked. And I had a moment of clarity through divine grace that showed me that the divine light was going to be the only thing that would heal my heart and heal the layers of cement that were running through my system. Cement meaning like just the holding patterns of trauma. And so I went to this healing school and they started to transmit divine light at us. And when you start to transmit divine light at people, it softens all their trauma and it clears the karma and it clears all the past lives. And then if you happen to have gifts of this nature, they start to open. Okay. So I'm very into like these gifts as being emanations of spirit, not as being like, look how fancy I am. It's like, this is just what spirit built me as. And it has these gifts happening in this nervous system because it said so or whatever. So there I am in healing school and all this light. And I started to, every single time the phone would ring or I would get a text message, I would get the text message 20 seconds before the text message. So it would often come in a form of like a passive thought, like, I wonder how Josh is doing. I wonder if he's going jet skiing soon. That's a random idea. And then ping, hey girl, how are you? We're going jet skiing tomorrow. Do you want to come? Haven't talked to Josh in months, that kind of shit. But it would happen literally I'd be like Geico commercials. I really like Geico commercials.
It would show up. Yeah.
Well, and then I get 20 seconds later, a Geico text, like, you should get Geico. So but what was cool was that it was happening while I was in the safe container of this healing school. And I was able to go back to school and go, help. And I would share these things and they'd go, okay, yeah, sometimes that happens when you're transmitting all this light and all your trauma's clearing and all that energy's out of the way. Now you can you're an antenna and you're receiving and good for you. Okay, my craziest story. I just feel like sharing it with you.
Yeah, no, I love it.
My craziest story was, and Cass has heard this story before. I think I've told you this story, Cass. But anyway, and hopefully I haven't said it here before, but whatevs. So I'm dating this guy and I'm living in LA. And I booked a play up in Sacramento. So my items that I owned were in my apartment in LA, and so was the boyfriend. And I traveled 7 hours north to go do this play. So I'm in rehearsals for the play, and one night, this like an afternoon, I'm driving home. And I was also, by the way, in the healing school at the same time. So I was doing all this at the same time. I'm driving home from rehearsal to the actor housing they had me living in. And all of a sudden, I'm driving and I'm overcome with, let's say this person's name that I was dating. Let's say his name was Rupert.
Rupert Gareth.
Rupert. So I'm driving this car and all of a sudden I am hearing Rupert's voice echoing in my head so loud and so clear. And he's talking to a therapist and he's talking about me.
Yeah, we've heard this on the podcast and it's a great story. So it's worth continuing. Yes. Yeah.
I just thought of another one that I maybe haven't told. But anyway, so he's going like, I don't know how to say it to her. And she's a good person. And she doesn't see this coming. And I feel bad. And I don't know what to say. And I'm going, what? And the therapist goes, and I'm hearing the therapist. The therapist goes, well, listen, you just tell her you feel like this has gone as far as it's going to go. You think she's great. And unfortunately, you're going to have to move on. And it's not personal. And it's just you. And they have this whole conversation. Now, the conversation is so loud and detailed that I get a pen. I pull over. I get a pen and a paper because I was a stand-up comedian at the time more so. And I was always writing jokes in my car for whatever reason. Anyway, and I start to write this dialogue down, like word for word. I'm just like transcribing because it's so surreal what was happening. So I get back to my actor housing I was living in, and I'm just kind of like, well, that was fucking weird. Like, and I had already been having all the text things and the phone things and thinking like, maybe I just heard Rupert and his therapist talking, but maybe not. Cut to a couple hours later, he and I would talk at night. So I call him and I go, how's it going? And he's like real distant and standoffish. And I go, everything okay? He's like, yeah. I go, what'd you do today? Oh, nothing. Did you go like to the grocery store? No. Did you go to therapy? Yeah. Well, I went to, yep. I had therapy today. And then I did some writing and then I did some of this and some of that. Oh, how was therapy? It was fine. And I basically like led him down a gentle path that was like, I was kind of being like, I wanted to find out if it had happened. And I also, if he was going to break up with me, I tend
You're
to be
a
the
nicer
kind of person
than I am. I would have been like, dude, this is what happened. And I just want to know, is it real?
I was inside your brain and I tapped into your.
Well, but see, I feel like if I had said that, well, anyway, blah. So that's what I did. And then finally, I'm sort of gently pulling it out of him. And eventually he goes, yeah, this was the best part. I could hear him. I go, so what are you trying to say, Rupert? And then I hear him like shuffling with some papers because he had clearly like taken notes on what.
And then you take out your notepad and then you're like reading it.
So he reads to me. He goes, well, I've just decided that this has gone as far as it can go for me. I'm so sorry. You're a wonderful person. He's like clearly reading this thing. And I am reading the same words on my paper that he had said. So I'd heard the whole fucking conversation.
Yeah, they were. Do you think your guides and angels were preparing you for that? Or do you think that it was a validation?
A validation of what?
That you got the message, kind of like a confirmation. Like sometimes when we're starting out early, like you said, you were going to this healing class.
Yeah, no, it was a healing school, 4 years, very serious, very in depth. And by the way, there were schools when you graduated high school and were going to college and you were like, there were no schools to study.
Not according to my dad. It was like it was like when I say no schools, it was the traditional path.
No acceptable schools.
Correct.
For your framework.
Correct. It was the pole or, the crystal ball and then college kind of thing. So this was,
I understand. I went to the college as well. And I had the dad with the framework as well. But I just found the schools because I said, fuck y'all. I'm going to the fucking schools. Because I was losing my mind. It sounds like you weren't. I was like, I needed the school bad. So lucky you didn't. You probably don't have Pisces moon. And I'm happy for you.
No, I don't have Pisces moon. I am a Pisces though.
Do you have Scorpio somewhere?
So my ascendant is Leo, my moon is Leo, and I'm a Pisces.
Wow.
I know. I'm kind of messed up on all angles.
What a combo. But that fire will help you with that water a little bit, at least.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, all I wanted to say to answer.
Yeah, back to your story. Sorry for the tangent.
It's not a tangent. It's a great question. To answer your question, what I want to say is I was having so many breakthrough moments. It wasn't like, I don't think it was a confirmation it was just, I was seeing through all the veils of time and space all the time because I just was. Because when I blow light through this system, I see, feel, hear, know stuff. And I think in this case, he and I were so connected at the heart that, of course, if he's going through something really difficult and he and I are connected and I'm in love with this guy, which is, you know what I mean? So another thing I learned in that school is that when your heart is really the spiritual organ of your body is really connected to another, those people you almost can't disconnect. Like for me, I can't not hear the thoughts of whoever or the feelings or the whatever of the person whose heart I have. Because the heart is a spiritual portal. So he and I were connected at the heart and my system was blowing open and I just was able to hear his heart really in a hard moment.
I thought at first you were going to say your phone was on or his phone was on. He accidentally added you to the call, but you actually heard it real time. So
yes, ma'am.
Love that. Just to jump in and just full transparency, Nichole, we're working on this new sort of tightening up our format thing on time. And we're trying to keep things moving
in a
different clip, it's the whole efficiency thing. And just to let you know, we have about 40 minutes left technically by our new formula, Katie.
Got you, boo. I got you. So Nichole, before we get into your
Yes, ma'am.
Before we get into your records, what else do we need to know about your story that you feel is relevant for people listening to know about someone's journey like this? What feels relevant to you to share, if anything?
I'm going to take a second and ask, because honestly, I was kind of doing some prayer and some intention before this, and I felt like we could go down a bunch of rabbit holes and everything. But I think that more recently, I mean, listening to, I binged a bunch of your episodes, but the most recent ones, that the themes that were coming up to me are that there's a lot of fear out there for people, just unknowns, uncertainties. And I just wanted to commend you and CASSIDY as well, just for the show in general, because what I'm being led to share, both, personally and professionally, is that because we're in this transition of wanting to know what's happening, kind of leaning into that fear a little bit to let go, that's really important. And that was the purpose, again, of me kind of putting this podcast out there, is because I was feeling that then and now. It started to, I know a lot of people don't feel it, but it started to dissipate a little bit more, at least what I've been tuning into, because I think that people are starting to find their groove a little bit more and finding their footing and knowing. And I think that as far as the message that I'm getting to share, is it's less about me and more about everybody else leaning into their own truth and their own path. And again, it being different. And when I say different, I don't mean different from the regular folks out there. I just mean that every path is different and that there's not a typical normal for folks, right? And that for you to be able to kind of discern that is up to you. It's not really for anyone else to decide. And the other big message that I was getting before this is, I don't know why I keep getting kids so much, because I don't really honestly deal with my kids in terms of my practice, but I think you probably have a lot of listeners that do, or ask you for information, is just kind of really embracing and giving that full love. And that hearing these types of stories like my own, I think it should just be confirmation too, that children are going through their own massive transition and journey right now, and that we just need to be sensitive as adults for that.
And so that makes sense. And I'm glad to hear you say that. When you say there's a lot of fear out there and people are finding their groove. And I think what you meant was that the fear is dissipating. Is that what you're saying was dissipating?
I think that because there's unknown, we like to control so many things. We like to know what our next step is. Like, I know you're moving. I can see the boxes. I also listened to some of the episodes. A lot of healers, a lot of people are in transition. They're moving, they're learning new skills. They're figuring out their jobs. That unknown and that sense of not having a foundation or a compass of sorts, and sometimes can create that uncertainty. And then people automatically jump to fear versus just kind of letting go to that unknown. And that's what I'm getting, is that at first there was this massive kind of uneasiness, uncertainty. About a year, even before the pandemic started, it was a bubble, kind of coming to the surface. Pandemic kind of kicked us into that. Now people are starting to really lean into their truth, and that fear, to your point, is starting to, at least I'm feeling it, not from myself, but from others, dissipate. I'm not feeling the collective consciousness so much in that state of uncertainty. Most people might disagree with me right now, but that's what I'm feeling and tapping into.
Okay, gotcha. I just want to make sure I understood what you were saying.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have some ideas of what you might like to throw through the records if we were to open your records?
Oh gosh, honestly, there's so much that they probably want to hit me over the head with. I know that they're really direct when you tap into it and they give you the answers of that. As far as questions, I'll just kind of share. I recently too moved. That's why I'm blurred out and you were asking on like just the different systems that I'm on from a sound standpoint. I sold my home. I am in transit. I don't have a place right now, but it was a leap of faith because I knew that I needed to be near family. I think just want to make sure that I'm like truly headed down the right path and I'm doing it for the right reasons is the biggest thing. And I just want to keep my ego in check. Like I don't really have, I know we all have ego. I try and be a humble person, but I just want to make sure, again, I'm making those decisions for the right reasons. It's not for me, it's for other people.
Okay. So
that would be what I would, I know it's very broad, but.
Well, we'll focus it and narrow it when we get in there. I just was actually asking, do you have questions? Not what are they?
Those are.
But it sounds like you do. Cool. So let's get in there and we'll ask them if you want to do that. Do you want to do that?
I think that would be great.
Whew, double Leo and a Pisces. Do you know what your North Node is in?
No, Leo and Aries and Pisces.
I thought you said Leo Sun, Leo Moon, Pisces.
Nope, sorry. Pisces is my zodiac sign. My ascendant is...
Your sun.
Yeah, Pisces is my sun. My moon is... Now I'm getting it confused. My ascendant is Leo and my moon is Aries.
Okay. So that's that. Okay. The Aries and the Leo.
I'm a shark Pisces, according to Linda Goodman.
Shark Pisces?
A shark Pisces. Mm-hmm.
And tell me more about what that means according to Linda Goodman.
I don't know. Linda Goodman said it, so I just believe it. No, for people that don't know, Linda Goodman was one of the very first astrologists. She created like one of the more massive movements in astrology. I was reading a book when I was a teenager. I was like, why am I just not like most people? And because I felt like Pisces are supposed to be that ethereal, dreamy, like sensitive. And I was, but I'm more direct, kind of to the point type of energy, type A. And she said it's called shark Pisces. And that is usually when you have the Pisces and then the Aries, and then it's like the polar opposites, but it balances it out. So that's what she said. So
got it. Very clear, very to the point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very sharky.
Very sharky. Yeah, that's what she had like a few sentences on it. So I was like, that's very interesting. I wish she would elaborate more, but she didn't.
Yeah, we've got a bird of prey right outside that really pulled me. So that's interesting too. 2 of them.
Birds show up usually in my readings.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do they mean for you?
Usually to me, it's just a confirmation from the other side that spirit is there, that's showing up. Or if it was a red bird, which it's not, because you said a bird of prey, that's usually my grandmother, a cardinal.
Cool. What's your full legal name?
Nichole with an H, Nichole Bigley.
That's it? No middle name?
Oh, Anne, sorry, without an E. Nichole Ann Bigley. I don't know if that matters or not, but just wanted to give that to you.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome. Well, let's do this, shall we? Cass, where are we at with time?
Yeah, we have about 35 minutes.
Perfect.
Because we started at about 5 after. So yeah.
Okay, great. So I know you're a big, strong leader type yourself, Nichole. I am going to take over for just a few minutes here. Does that work for you?
Sure.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm letting it go to you. There you go.
Oh boy.
I know.
I'm a little bit afraid of you. You're kind of intense.
Sorry, I don't mean to be.
That Leo with the Aries, I'm like, I'm good. I hear you. It's like, I'm like, I get it. But like, I have to not personalize it. It's just an energy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Katie, I think it is a combination issue because I'm not getting that, what you're getting. I've been watching you reacting a little bit to Nichole. I've been going, and my response has been, Katie, what's going on?
Oh.
So it's interesting. It's watching the two of you do you guys have a thing? There's an energetic combination that is occurring.
Well, okay.
It's really interesting to watch.
I experience it, which is, I'm sure, incorrect. I experience it as like two rams. And I experience myself as just sitting here and then I'm getting rammed. And I'm like, am I threatening her? Does she feel like she has to? But then I go, no, that's not it. And then it's like, wait a minute. These are just two different shapes of strong spirit leader people. And it's just two shapes of it. And then I started to just expand my energy field and be like, let's just allow this to occur. A leader, she's leading, and let's let that happen. And then I was like, okay, right. This has nothing to do with me. This is just Nichole being Nichole, right?
Yeah. Well, I think too that from me being in PR and podcasting, it's like I need to let you lead. You're the interviewer. At the same time, you're asking me questions. Honestly, I should be asking myself that I don't necessarily know the answers to. And I know the answers, but it's giving me a little bit of thought to how do I explain this to other people? So that's what it is, at least from my standpoint.
Total sense. And when you share that way, the way you just did, I don't feel the aggression. I don't feel it's almost like a feeling of defensiveness. Like in some way.
I'm trying to get an answer for you. I just want to make sure that the answers are making sense to folks, I think.
Oh, you make total sense to us.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just sounds a little, wookie wookie, I guess. Woo woo.
Where are you from?
I'm in the Midwest. I'm a Midwestern girl for all of 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm asking because I'm like, wookie wookie. That's a fun way to say it. I haven't heard that.
Oh, yeah. I had a teacher of mine that she called it wookie wookie. She called it woo woo. I was like, she just made it fun. So that's what I like to say.
Yeah.
I think it makes it accessible a little bit more and fun to people that may find it a little intimidating.
Right. It's slightly self-deprecating when we say woo-woo, but while still accepting that it's a thing that's happening.
Right. Exactly.
To me, nothing you say sounds anywhere near weird or off because I've been doing this professionally for 20 years. And to me, it's just like every day, very normal. So I was wondering what was the defensive position about? And I think I get it now, that because when you just said, trying to find answers for me, and there's like a way of wanting to like do it well or say it in a way that people will understand, which makes total sense. And then the energy totally shifted when we were just talking.
Yeah, I felt that too.
Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay, cool. And so that's why I said the sentence, I'm going to start leading now, because I don't have a lot of walls anymore. And when the walls are up, because we're going to go in the records, I kind of need your heart to soften and open.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to, when I say to someone, okay, I'm going to go lead now, and they're really leading hard, sometimes I say that to just sort of give them permission to expand and maybe open a little so that it can be easier on me when I'm reading, and so that you can benefit more.
Well, it's a good way of saying that too, because sometimes you don't realize that you don't mean to be.
Right, exactly. Totally. 100 zillion %. Okay, cool. I'm glad we had that convo. All right, I'm just looking at my prayer here. So, all right, I'm just going to take us through I'm sure you've heard through our episodes now how the little meditation we do. It's easy peas. If you're up for it, I'll just encourage you to close your eyes. Yeah. And all of us, all three of us, and anybody listening, let's all just soften our hearts even more than they might already be. Allowing each of us to lead, and each of us to follow, and each of us to surrender to the divine who's actually in charge. Not me, for sure. And as we open our hearts, we'll just feel into the low belly, connecting into our emotional body there, letting the heart soften even more. And we'll give over the full weight of our bodies to the chairs we sit in, allowing the muscles of the entire body to fully relax to the best of our ability in the chair. The reason being, the more loose, the more relaxed, the more receptive, and the more valuable the light can be to us. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasulullah. And so we'll feel our feet flat on the ground below us. We'll just visualize those little spinning foot chakras at the bottom center of each foot. I mean, spinning open like little hurricanes, little tornadoes. Yeah, and as they spin, they get wider and wider and bigger and bigger. Amen. Until the entire surface area of the bottom of each foot is a nice open plane of energy, like the open mouth of a tornado, like the open mouth of a hurricane. And as those feet open, we're going to visualize 500 energetic roots, extensions of our energy field, shooting down from each foot hundreds of miles into the earth. Hundreds of miles, yeah. 1,000 tree roots of light. We'll acknowledge for each of ourselves here that we are each trees of light. Metaphorically speaking, there's a trunk, there's roots into the earth, and then there's the leaves up above. And as we allow 1,000 energetic tree roots to root us to the here and now, this gives our heart permission and the ability to soften even one nugget further. Then we're going to visualize a nice wide grounding cord extending from the base of our spines, shooting to the center of the earth. But I always like to say it's about 1.5 feet wide, just for the sake of clarity. And as that grounding cord hits the center of the earth, instantaneously, it becomes a nice open vessel to receive a river of light, a flowing abundant river of light from the earth, Sophia Gaia, soul of this planet, rushing upward. Through the grounding cord, into that root chakra, And we allow that river of light to flow forward into each hip socket. Down through each quad, glute, and hamstring. Down through the knees, the shins, the calves, the ankles, and feet, down into those roots we established moments ago. Anchoring us to the here and now, giving us that nice tripod grounding structure of light. Wow. Okay. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holy Spirit of God, protect me, please, from all forms of self-centeredness and direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know Nichole and Bigley in the light of the Akashic records. And immediately they go, Bigley indeed. To see Nichole and Bigley through the eyes of the lords of the records. And enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Nichole and Bigley have for Nichole and Bigley. I'll just go quiet for a moment. Yeah. Okay, and so as we deepen into Nichole's records now, I'm just asking for all of us here today that anything in the way in my field, Nichole's field, or anyone else's field listening that would stand in the way of us getting maximum highest level guidance for her on the soul level from her higher self and from God itself. We ask that all be taken, cleared, uncreated, destroyed. Cleared and released, dissipated into the light. Okay. Lords, masters, and teachers of the Akashic records of Nichole, are we ready to read for her? Yes. Okay. All right. Anything you guys want to say first? No. Any energies you want to offer first? Yes. Okay, just give me 1 second here. Okay, that was for me, anchoring me a little more deeply into your soul and its alignment. Okay, so I know you stated the questions earlier, Nichole, but let's have you start with one of them. Let's be as specific as you can. What would you like to throw through the records first?
The first question is just about moving in particular. So was moving the right to this location, to this state, the right move at this moment in time?
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a big yes initially, and then I'm just going to listen for some more details here. Is there anything, what is it in your mind that makes you even wonder? Like is there something going wrong? Has it been hard, or are you just like in the middle of transition and uncomfortable and not sure?
For me, the energy of this town and of the state in particular doesn't feel in the best resonance with my vibration, but I was feeling led to move here for family. Okay, and in a good way, not in like a guilty way by any means. It's more family matters, right? And just being here. So that's why. So I'm feeling kind of the duality, the shifts. Yeah. And so I feel like it could be temporary, or it could be, a longer term thing. And that's the part that I'm not sure of.
I see. Okay. Okay. First things first, they're like, part of what you being in this place, it's really strong. Your field is so strong. It's kind of incredible. There's 18 things at once now. Okay, number one is you're going to need that Leo and that Aries, as you guys describe it. You need that potency and that clarity and that sharp, there's a sharp fire air. Pew! You need that to carry that Pisces, and you need that to be the person that you are. Like, in this world for people to hear what you have to say, that's going to be quite an asset. In a way, Katie wishes she had more of that, because she can be very Aquarian and everybody's friend. And there's a way that you want to, sometimes you got to cut through, and that Aries will help you with that a lot. So this is part of the gift of you, and it's perfect balance, fire, air, water, right? We're hoping there's some earth. Is there earth? Not that much, though. No. No. Yeah. So, okay. So that's a beautiful thing. You're going to need it going forward. You understand, beloved, we need you on the front lines of the, they call it what? The battle? No, of the army of light. Do you know that we need you on the front lines of fighting with the army of light? Are you aware of that? Okay. Yes, beloved. Yes, it's very real for you. And we need you, and this is why you're designed this way. Yes, receive. I mean, part of you being in this location at this time is about, you're going to be able to pull up out of the ground and the collective consciousness of this area, their old paradigm, their old ways of being. You're going to work it on the energetic level and pull it out for them and be the support and be the light for a lot of people who are kind of just breaking through, just starting to wake up. That's going to be a real good population for you for a time to be working with. They need someone who's clear and strong, but also can, hold the mercy and the light the way that you can. You've got that Pisces in the personality position, thank God. And that Pisces will temper, by the way, the Leo fire, and you need it to, but you need that fire to keep that water from drowning you. So they all support each other, and it's all perfectly designed. I mean, so you being there, you're correct. It's not perfectly resonant with you, but actively, if you so choose, you could spend time in meditation, pulling the icky resonance out of the ground and sending it to the light. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so
I think what you're picking up on is it's very stagnant energy.
Mm-hmm. Where are you? You said already, but I forgot.
Oh, it's
oh yeah.
Of all places.
Well, interestingly enough, the founder of the 12-step programs, Bill Wilson. God, is that right? Yeah. A lot of that happened there. Okay, let me listen. Now, there's an activation portal this is fascinating. Okay, part of you being there also is, you have to understand there is a portal there, but it's very dim, and it's only felt and heard by people who are really almost like thrown into awakening. So you being there, you are part of the consciousness right now, is pulling the light workers where they need to be. As you said earlier, everybody's moving, all the people are going. You were brought because of, quote, quote, because of family, to be closer to family. And that's your heart following its desire to be closer to family. But the heart is the portal through which the spirit moves things. So it knows. It's all in divine orchestration. So it is a portal. If you would be willing, beloved, we would love to ask of you, please, if you're so inclined, never bypassing your free will. When you're in meditation and prayer, ask for blessings for the portal that is. Ask for the portal of light that is to be elevated. Ask that you be a facilitatrix of the elevation of the portal of, because you have that capacity. Your field is enormous. Remember, and we know you know this, but really, beloved, when you're in meditation and in your spiritual practice, something that would be great for the whole fucking world with you is remember how enormous your field is. You're very wide and very deep and very tall. You're like a sequoia tree, huge. So when you have an intention, and when you say to the Lord of Light, I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones, when you say to God, please facilitate the up-leveling of the consciousness of this portal, boy, does it have an effect. You are no small potatoes. So you're there for family. It's good. You're there to up-level the slow consciousness that's there. and you're there to kind of repair isn't the right, activate the portal more consciously. Here's a question for you. Are you consciously and currently connected to a particular star family lineage?
Yes. Oh my gosh, you are so spot on.
Which one or ones?
Well, so my father's middle name is Orion.
Okay.
And that is in Orion's belt, obviously, you know. And so we have family members that are in those names.
Okay. And do you yourself feel a particular affinity to the Orion star beings?
I think so, just from my family lineage. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it feels really big right now as you say it. So do you have a practice, like a spiritual practice? You meditate, you do something?
Probably should do more.
Yeah. What do you do now?
So it's a lot of intentions, a lot of gratitude throughout the day that just is routine. And I do try and do meditations before I go to bed. But as far as rituals per se, I don't do a lot of that. A lot of prayer work too.
Oh, prayer work. Okay. What does your prayer work look like? Tell us more about that.
So for myself or really anybody else, I call in my guides and angels. I call in my higher self. I ask for connection to be grounded, for the universe to receive information. And then depending on what I feel led, I usually leave it broad for my best and highest self, that sort of thing. But I don't do specific intentional prayer work for myself.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
How come?
I think I honestly just really don't think about it. It's more throughout the day versus like sitting down in a ritual practice or in a routine, I should say.
Okay, so you will pray for yourself, just not in a ritualized way.
Correct.
I see. Okay. So let me.
So maybe what you're picking up on is that it should be more regular.
No,
or intentional.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm just asking questions that they're asking me to ask you. Okay, all this is pointing to something. Just give me a second. So, Orion. Is that the star? Okay. So here's the. What would be helpful to yourself, the community you're in, meaning the whole of that city, you know, and what would be helpful to the up-leveling of the frequency of the area, both for your own personal sake, so you don't have to be with this density all the time, and for their sake, so they can elevate out of that density and right into the lightness, is when you pray. There's a couple pieces here. One is, I'm going to give it to you how they're giving it to me. And of course, do with it what you like, but I'm going to be very clear for just a minute because they're speaking very clearly to me. So they're like this. Please, beloved, expand your energy field. Understand that you are a sequoia tree, metaphorically speaking. So close your eyes and visualize your field expanding left and right, forward and back to the edges of at least the size of the city. This is when you're in meditation. You'll say a prayer. Angels and guides come to me, however you do it, right? You'll feel into your heart. You'll say, please expand my heart to the edges of as well. I acknowledge that my energy field is that big. Now, please open my heart that big. Then from there, if you're willing and desirous, call on the light beings of Orion's belt, all the Orion light beings. Please, would you bring, and it's happening right now, would you please bring, and let's do it right now to set a template. Bring the Orion, Allah, light being energy frequencies through me, my big sequoia tree that is the size of in every direction. Bring your light, please, the specific Orion Star Nation light to this town, to this land I'm sitting on, and to the collective that lives here for the sake of their up-leveling, for the sake of their awakening. It's just coming through right now. All you need to do, beloved, because you're so tapped in and your energy is so big, is soften that heart, expand very wide to the edges of the city, and call on the Orion star beings. And they will, if you do this 5 or 10 minutes a day, you're gonna freaking change the entire frequency of that fucking city and that state. And that's what you're doing there. And family, love, family, all the family. So no big deal.
No big deal at all. That was amazing. Thank you. I started tearing up at one point when you were talking, not out of I was tearing up before we had the conversation because it was big energy. So I very much appreciate it. And thank you for that.
Of course. Okay. What else? From you, Nichole.
I mean, that was really the validation that I needed because I knew that there was a reason to be here. I just needed, I think activate is the biggest message that I heard, because sometimes as light workers and as healers, you don't necessarily know, like in some cases, what you're missing and how you can use those tools, or verbally what else you could be doing, also from your heart, like you said. So
Okay, so here's another piece for you on that front. That's good. You would serve your own soul's purpose even more fully if you were to spend more time, as you said before, in active sitting down meditative practice for the sake of the following reason. You visualizing a thing, intending a thing, feeling a thing, for example, expanding your energy field to the edges of Dayton, calling on the Orion star beings and asking them to elevate the collective. That's like doing 4 different things. The more you practice consciously sitting and doing stuff like that, the more you're going to trust in your own ability to move energy. Now, we know that you already know you can do a lot of stuff, but it's time for your up-leveling too, for you to believe even more. And the way to build that belief is to do more of it and to practice it more. We need you, as we said before, on the front lines, not like a little bit sneaking in the background and like I'm psychic for people, kind of, sorta. It's like sequoia tree, please, Orion light, please elevate the entire population. That's what you're capable of, but you've got to do it regularly so that you believe you're even bigger than you knew. Does that make some sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Any other things you want to run through, Nichole?
Me, or are you asking them?
I'm asking you.
I would say my other question, I mean, it's a broad question, but is what else have I not asked them that I should be asking?
Okay. Okay. You're funny. I just want to get it. I'm gonna listen for a millimeter here. Well, that's funny. It's interesting. It's answered in the first question in the sense that they'd like you more actively tuning into and expanding into the light regularly, because it's going to do more for your capacities and it's going to blow you open even more, if you can imagine that. And it's time. They're saying, you know, that there's ways that you kind of keep a little bit of the lid on, sort of, you know, they want you to throw that lid off. And the way to do it is to just keep expanding your energy field and understanding how big your field is, and expanding the heart in particular, and then calling on that Orion light. Why? Because that's your spiritual practice. And people working in the realms of light need the spiritual practice even more than the average people. Because A, you want to keep your alignment really clean and really humble. And B, you want to keep your light really strong and really powerful. And that's the paradox of being a real light worker, is you've got to be a potent motherfucker who is fully surrendered to God. You know that you're a big badass bitch, and you are a speck on the fart of a flea compared to God. So how do you come to actually know that paradox in your cells? It's through the practice where you see, wow, that's what it is to be the river of light for humanity. It's a tall order, but you didn't come here this lifetime to play small, and you didn't come here this lifetime to hide out again. You've had other times where you hid out. Many of you did, because you got killed when you didn't fucking hide out. This is not that lifetime. This is the one where you blow off the image they keep giving me is, which superhero is that? I feel like this has come up before. The one who, it's a woman, and she's like down like this, and then she stands up like this, and all the like armor blows off her body, and she becomes like just like the light.
Could be Captain Marvel. Could be
what's the one?
Be Phoenix. Could be Dark Phoenix, or it could be Captain Marvel.
What's the blonde? What's oh God, son of a bitch.
The blonde sort of star being one is Captain Marvel.
That's a lady?
Yeah, she was a test pilot, and then she got infused by like
now
star
I'm
being.
gonna have to watch that.
It's a good one. You should friggin' watch that one.
Captain Marvel is a female character?
In the Marvel universe.
Don't be
the DC
sexist,
universe, Captain
Katie.
Marvel. That's right. It's in the DC universe, totally different character. Captain Marvel is also sometimes Shazam, is also sometimes Captain.
Because
it's a little confusing.
No, it's not sexism. It's that I've seen the movie with Captain Marvel that was a man. That's why I'm confused.
It's the Shazam movie. It's called Shazam. Is the movie.
Oh, wait a minute. But what's the other Captain guy? What's his name? Captain America.
Yeah, I think you're thinking Captain America.
But Captain Marvel, right? It's a long-standing confusion too, because there's one in each universe. And Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe, yeah, is a woman who's like, also she's a star being, like she's straight up like a star being. You should watch that one. You'd like it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's what they say. That is the one. So you're gonna blow off your armor and allow yourself to be the huge sequoia tree beacon of light that you are. So what do they want you to know that you haven't already? Please, more spiritual practice. And in the way that we have described, let that be a starting point for you. With your gifts and abilities, you'll get all kinds of new information once you start practicing that. 5 minutes a day, they even say. Inside that space where you're living as the sequoia tree, the size of your city, you're gonna get downloads, girl. You can't even believe yet. You already get so much. You're gonna get so much more. It's gonna fuck you up for a minute. In the
well,
right
I'm gonna
way.
call you when that happens.
Okay.
Make sure you share your phone number so I can text you at 3 a.m.
You got it.
Well, I'm gonna take you up on that then.
Okay. Anything else? No. Okay. I think that's it.
Thank you so much.
Oh
I know
my
that was a
gosh.
lot. I felt the energy, just so you know, in terms of validation for you. Like, I
don't
really
need it,
threw.
girl.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
do
gosh. I
not
just felt it
need
blow out. So thank you.
Any validation. I do this 6 times a day with people all over the world. All right, I'm going to close your records. Give me a second. I want to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I want to thank the lords of the records for their point of view, and I want to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. I ask that you return all of Nichole and Bigley's energy to herself now, please. I ask that you return her to her complete human wholeness now, please. The divine portal and the Akashic records of Nichole and Bigley are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records of Nichole and Bigley are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records of Nichole and Bigley are now closed. Amen, amen, amen.
Well, should we just call it and say, do your work?
Thank you, Nichole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good one. Thanks for being with us.
You too. Have a great one. Thanks, Desmond, as well. Bye-bye.
Bye, Nichole. Is that it? Are we done? You want to talk?
Let's just take 1 minute. I just need 1 minute with you. That was so much that I just miss you guys. It's good to touch base with you guys just for a second.
It was very interesting to watch though, because it's true. Like you must have been picking up on something that wasn't verbal, and it was not coming. What you were reacting to was not coming through the camera.
To you, it wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't coming. It was coming through on a different level. Like, and it wasn't coming through the ears or the eyes. Is what I'm saying. So, like, I was watching you go, like, okay, now, all right, take it easy. And I was like, what's happening? What are you taking easy? And it was just, that's what I'm saying, that it was fascinating to watch that, to watch you react to something that I couldn't see.
That makes sense. And did you hear how she received it? She knew what I meant.
Yeah.
She went, oh, right, I didn't realize I was doing that.
Right.
And you have to understand, this is not about it's not about ego. This is about like, a deep place in a person where she's in a leadership position in this realm a lot of her time.
Uh-huh.
And then I come in and I can see more.
Mm-hmm.
And she can tell I can see more. So part of her is going, don't see me more.
Right.
And then that energy, it's this hand that I'm showing you, is going like, don't. And for me, that's very exhausting.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually just trying to help and I'm just sitting here. But I understand usually when someone's doing that, it's because there's some threat or fear going on. And the moment we named it, she just dropped it.
Right.
And it all just opened. And then it didn't have to happen anymore, which was great because it can go the other way with people who aren't open.
Mm-hmm.
You name it and then they put more walls. And she did the opposite. And that was so cool.
Yeah.
That was so cool. And I want to leave this in if we could, because this is important stuff here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I hear you.
Okay.
All right, love.
I guess I'll go do my work.
I'm going to go do my work.
Okay.
I love you. Bye.
Hello, friends of the podcast. How are you doing? How's it going for you? I hope all is well and shiny and bright and deeply surrendered and aligned and in flow. Just a small request and desire I have for your soul. Hey, listen, if you're interested in getting some really deep activation, spiritual healing, and alignment for yourself, getting clarity on your own spiritual path, and or clearing or healing anything you need cleared or healed from your body, being, soul, or spirit, join me for 3 days of star being and Christ-light healing, October 1, 2, and 3 in upstate Massachusetts, or you can join online. It's a 3-day retreat where we're gonna zap a ton of crap right on out of your system and align you with the light in a really powerful way. October 1, 2, and 3. For details, give me a little email and I will email you back with everything you need. KLRubin, RUBIN, @gmail.com. That's K as in kiss, L as in love, RUBIN, @gmail.com. Additionally, consider joining us for 2 weeks in Egypt, November 15th to the 26th. 2 weeks in Egypt, friends. We're going to go to the temples. We're going to go to the pyramids. We're going to go to the Sphinx. And we're going to be raising the vibrational field of the planet to lift the weight of the recent trauma that we've all been going through for the past year or two, from the planet itself, from the collective, and from our own hearts. So this will be a ton of healing and also like rad travels on the Nile and an integration time for 2 days at a beach at the end in Egypt. Have you always wanted to go to Egypt? Well, you should go. Now's the time. Email me, klrubin @gmail.com. That's K as in kiss, L as in love, RUBIN @gmail.com.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
Hey, welcome to the show. We're Cassidy and Katie, and Desmond's in a mood. So, yeah.